The information provided in this video is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes and does not constitute professional financial, marketing, business, career, or legal advice. The digital landscape, particularly social media marketing, the creator economy, and business advertising, involves significant variables and inherent risks. Any discussion of potential outcomes, revenue generation, brand growth, or audience monetization is based entirely on historical trends, independent case studies, and current market analysis as of 2026. Past performance in the digital space does not indicate future results. Audience algorithms, platform policies, and consumer behavior change rapidly. We strongly advise all viewers to conduct their own rigorous due diligence, research their specific market conditions, and consult with certified professionals before making any financial investments, altering their business models, allocating advertising budgets, or making career transitions based on the contents of this report. Here is a statement that would have gotten you laughed out of every major marketing boardroom in America just 4 years ago. In 2026, having 10 million followers is rapidly becoming an active liability. We are currently witnessing one of the most violent and sudden redistributions of attention in the history of the modern internet. To understand exactly what is happening right now, we need to look at a deeply telling historical trend. Back in the early 2020s, the blueprint for digital success was synonymous with sheer unadulterated scale. Brands threw millions of dollars at massive internet celebrities, assuming that casting the widest possible net would naturally yield the highest possible return. But over the last 36 months, a silent algorithmic and psychological revolution has completely rewritten the rules of American consumerism. The era of the mega-influencer is collapsing under the weight of its own inauthenticity, and in its place, a new, vastly more powerful force has taken total control of the market. We are talking about the unprecedented rise of the micro-influencer. Consider this compelling case study that perfectly illustrates the current environment. Last quarter, a prominent national beverage brand ran 2 parallel marketing campaigns to launch a new product line. The first campaign utilized a traditional mega creator with over 12 million subscribers, costing the brand hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single dedicated integration. The second campaign diverted a fraction of that budget, entirely bypassing the A-list internet celebrities. Instead, they identified 45 hyper-niche micro-influencers scattered across the United States. We are talking about creators with subscriber counts hovering strictly between 5,000 and 25,000. These were not polished models living in massive Los Angeles content houses. They were Midwestern high school football coaches sharing hydration tips, night shift nurses in Texas documenting their incredibly grueling routines, and amateur marathon runners in the Pacific Northwest recording their morning training regimens. The analytical data from these parallel campaigns represents a watershed moment for the U.S. digital economy. The single integration with the 12 million subscriber mega creator generated massive superficial reach, accumulating millions of impressions. Yet, the actual conversion rate, the metric that tracks real people opening their wallets to purchase the product, was statistically abysmal. The audience watched the video, recognized the heavily scripted, transactional nature of the advertisement, and immediately scrolled past. They had developed complete blindness to polished endorsements. However, the collective campaign utilizing the 45 micro-influencers told a completely different story. Despite having a fraction of the total impressions, their conversion rate was nearly 11 times higher than the mega creator. The night shift nurse in Texas did not just have an audience. She had a community of peers who deeply trusted her practical, lived experience. When she casually mentioned that a specific beverage helped her survive a 14-hour shift, her audience did not view it as a corporate advertisement. They viewed it as a critical survival recommendation from a trusted colleague. This drastic disparity is not an isolated anomaly. It is the definitive trend of 2026. The American consumer has developed an incredibly sophisticated, highly sensitive radar for digital insincerity. Years of being bombarded by heavily filtered, unattainable lifestyles have resulted in severe authenticity fatigue. Viewers no longer want aspirational content. They are desperately seeking relatable, utilitarian, and deeply genuine connections. They want to interact with creators who look like them, who face the same daily economic and social pressures, and who operate within the same hyper-specific subcultures. The massive platforms have recognized this fundamental shift in human psychology and have aggressively retooled their recommendation algorithms to heavily favor community retention, deep engagement, and hyper-niche relevance over broad, viral reach. The platforms have realized that a user who spends 45 minutes deeply engaged in a comment section with the micro-influencer is exponentially more valuable than a user who mindlessly scrolls past a highly produced celebrity video in 3 seconds. This brings us to the core problem that this comprehensive masterclass will solve for you today. If you are an American small business owner, an independent marketer, or an entrepreneur, you are likely feeling the crushing weight of rising customer acquisition costs. You might be watching your traditional advertising budgets evaporate into an algorithmic void, generating absolutely no tangible return on investment. You are competing in a saturated market where shouting louder simply does not work anymore. Conversely, if you are an aspiring digital creator, a freelance professional, or an industry expert trying to build a personal brand, you might feel entirely paralyzed by the false belief that you need hundreds of thousands of followers to build a sustainable, profitable business. You might be looking at the colossal numbers of legacy creators and feeling that the barrier to entry is simply insurmountable. This complete trend report is designed to utterly dismantle those misconceptions by breaking down the exact mechanics of the 2026 micro-influencer ecosystem. We are going to explore the precise strategies that are currently allowing deeply specialized creators to generate full-time, sustainable incomes with audiences of fewer than 10,000 engaged individuals. We will dissect the psychology of parasocial trust, demonstrating how micro-communities cultivate an environment where a single recommendation carries the weight of a close friend's advice. We will analyze the structural changes in how brand deals are currently being negotiated, moving away from flat-rate vanity metrics and towards strictly performance-based, long-term partnerships. For business owners, this masterclass will provide a highly detailed framework for identifying, vetting, and successfully collaborating with the exact micro-influencers who hold the undivided attention of your target demographic. We will break down the precise methodologies for moving away from wasting capital on broad awareness campaigns and pivoting toward highly targeted, trust-based marketing protocols that focus on the newly defined metric of return on trust. For creators, we will outline the specific pathways to intentionally avoid the trap of chasing viral, empty metrics. We will focus entirely on the architectural blueprint for building a hyper-engaged, highly defensible digital community that remains completely insulated from the constant, unpredictable fluctuations of platform algorithms. We are going to examine the exact datasets, the specific historical shifts over the last 5 years, and the fundamental changes in user interface design that have made the micro-influencer the most valuable asset in the modern American economy. The days of broadcasting to the masses are officially over. We have entered the era of narrowcasting, where depth of connection entirely supersedes width of reach. To truly grasp why narrowcasting has completely dismantled the traditional advertising models of the past decade, we must first analyze the fundamental evolution of the algorithmic architectures governing our digital lives. Up until the early 2020s, platforms operated almost exclusively on the social graph, prioritizing content from people you directly followed. Then they evolved into the interest graph, serving you content based purely on your behavioral patterns and watch history, regardless of follower counts. But as we navigate through 2026, the landscape has shifted into a highly sophisticated third phase, which industry analysts refer to as the trust graph. The algorithms have been retooled to detect and reward deep, sustained community interaction over passive, superficial viewership. Platforms are no longer just measuring how long someone watches a video. They are aggressively tracking the velocity and sentiment of the comment section, the frequency of direct messages shared containing the video link, and the historical loyalty of the viewer to that specific creator. When a mega creator posts a sponsored video, the algorithm instantly detects a drop in watch time and a spike in generic or bot-driven comments. The trust graph penalizes this. However, when a micro-influencer posts a highly specialized review, their core audience engages in lengthy, deeply contextual discussions in the comments. The algorithm recognizes this as a high-value community interaction and exponentially increases the content lifespan. Let us apply this structural shift to a practical, real-world scenario. Imagine if you are an entrepreneur named Michael running a specialized hiking boot company out of Denver, Colorado, trying to scale your operations in 2026. If you were adhering to the obsolete marketing playbooks of the past, you might allocate your entire Q3 promotional budget to secure a single 60-second integration with a massive outdoor lifestyle channel boasting 5 million subscribers. The historical trends of this approach are brutally predictable. The video goes live, the creator briefly holds your boot up to the camera while standing on a picturesque cliff in California, reads a generic script provided by your agency, and drops a discount code in the description box. You might see a massive temporary spike in website traffic, but when you look at your conversion dashboard, the actual sales figures are devastatingly low. The audience knows the creator is being paid a premium, they know the creator likely never wore the boots on an actual multi-day trek, and their viewing intent was passive entertainment, not active purchasing. You have effectively paid a massive premium for vanity metrics that do not keep the lights on in your warehouse. Now, contrast that with the 2026 narrowcasting methodology. Instead of chasing that single expensive mega creator, Michael takes that exact same budget and meticulously researches the digital ecosystem of long-distance trail hiking. He identifies 30 individual micro-influencers scattered across the United States. We are talking about people like Sarah, a former accountant in Virginia who now documents her weekend preparations for completing the Appalachian Trail, or David, a retired firefighter in Washington state who tests ultralight backpacking gear for his audience of 8,000 highly dedicated subscribers. Michael sends these 30 creators a pair of boots with a simple pressure-free proposition. Wear them on your next grueling hike, and if they genuinely survive the terrain, talk about them. He offers a modest baseline compensation for their time and an affiliate structure based on actual performance. The potential outcomes of this decentralized strategy are staggering when analyzed through the lens of recent case studies. Sarah takes the boots on a 40-mile hike through torrential rain and mud. She does not read a corporate script. She sits in her tent, visibly exhausted, and shows her audience exactly how the waterproofing held up. She answers highly technical questions in her comment section about the toe box width, the ankle support on steep descents, and the break-in period. Because her audience of 6,000 people consists entirely of other dedicated hikers who face those exact same problems, her recommendation carries the psychological weight of a trusted friend. Her conversion rate is not the industry standard of 1%, it is pushing 12%. When you multiply that highly concentrated, deeply trusted conversion rate across 30 different micro-influencers, Michael's hiking boot company generates a sustainable, highly predictable flow of revenue that the mega creator could never replicate. This is the exact dynamic that is playing out across every single industry in the United States economy right now. From boutique software companies targeting specialized remote workers to independent organic food brands targeting specific dietary subcultures, the historical trends unequivocally show that micro-influencers are the most efficient customer acquisition vehicle currently available. They are insulated from the broader cultural cancellations that frequently plague massive celebrities. They are infinitely more cost-effective, and they possess a level of brand loyalty that simply cannot be manufactured at scale. The 2026 consumer is inherently skeptical. They have survived a decade of relentless, highly optimized digital marketing, and their defense mechanisms are fully activated the moment a video begins. The only way to bypass that psychological firewall is through the genuine, unpolished, and hyper-specific authenticity that only a micro-influencer can provide. Let me expand on the mechanics of community vetting, because this is where the historical data from the past 3 years paints a very clear picture. In 2024, a major shift occurred when platforms began prioritizing watch history loops. If a viewer watched a video from a specific creator, the algorithm would silently monitor whether that viewer returned to the platform the next day, specifically seeking out that same creator's content. This is known as intentional recall. Mega creators rely heavily on algorithmic discovery, where they need the platform to push their content onto the front page to be seen. Micro-influencers, however, thrive on intentional recall. Their audiences actively search for their names, bookmark their pages, and sign up for their direct newsletters. They do not wait for the algorithm to serve them the content. They hunt for it. This behavioral pattern drastically alters the value of an impression. An impression generated by intentional recall is worth exponentially more than an impression generated by passive scrolling. When our hypothetical business owner, Michael, analyzes his 30 micro-influencers, he is not looking at their total views. He is looking at their view-to-follower ratio consistency. A healthy micro-influencer in 2026 will consistently pull viewership numbers that closely mirror their total subscriber base, indicating that their audience is actually tuning in organically. If a creator has 20,000 followers but only averages 800 views a video, their community is dead, regardless of how aesthetic their content appears. Furthermore, Michael is analyzing the depth of the comments section. He is looking for paragraph-long comments, inside jokes, and users interacting with each other, not just the creator. He is searching for a digital town square, not a digital billboard. This forensic level of analysis is what separates the brands that are currently thriving from the brands that are bleeding capital. You have to understand that the micro-influencer is effectively a highly specialized, niche consultant for your brand. But finding these individuals requires a complete paradigm shift in how you conduct market research. You can no longer rely on massive influencer databases or automated outreach software. You have to manually embed yourself into the subcultures you are trying to reach. You have to learn their language, understand their pain points, and observe who they organically elevate as their leaders. But understanding the immense power of the micro-influencer ecosystem is only the very first step of the equation. The reality of the 2026 digital landscape is that for every highly authentic, deeply trusted micro-creator out there are 50 others who have artificially inflated their small audiences using sophisticated engagement pods, algorithmic manipulation, and bot followers. If you blindly allocate your capital or your product to a creator simply because their subscriber count falls within the 5,000 to 25,000 range, you are exposing your brand to significant operational risk. You could easily burn through your entire marketing budget partnering with creators who have the aesthetic of a micro-influencer, but absolutely none of the underlying community trust. The difference between a lucrative partnership and a total marketing failure relies entirely on your ability to look past the surface-level metrics and forensically analyze their digital footprint. How do you actually identify the difference between a genuinely engaged micro-community and an artificially propped-up echo chamber? What are the specific hidden metrics that professional agencies use right now to vet these creators before signing a single contract? To answer that, we must first expose the anatomy of the modern digital illusion. In 2026, the artificial inflation of social media metrics is no longer a clumsy operation run by offshore click farms. It has evolved into a highly sophisticated, deeply integrated industry powered by generative artificial intelligence and highly organized creator syndicates, known as engagement pods. If you simply glance at a micro-influencer's profile and see 15,000 followers, accompanied by videos that consistently pull 5,000 views and 200 comments, your immediate assumption might be that you have discovered a goldmine of undervalued attention. However, historical trends from the past 24 months reveal a startling reality. A significant percentage of these mid-tier accounts are completely hollow. The creators are essentially trading fake engagement with one another or utilizing advanced software to simulate a bustling community. If you funnel your marketing budget into one of these artificial echo chambers, the potential outcomes are universally disastrous. You will generate zero conversions, severely damage your brand equity, and waste precious weeks of operational time analyzing corrupted data. To prevent this catastrophic waste of capital, professional marketing agencies in the United States have completely abandoned traditional vanity metrics. They no longer care about total follower counts, and they are inherently suspicious of massive like-to-view ratios. Instead, they rely on a strict set of hidden, secondary metrics to verify absolute community authenticity. The first and most critical of these metrics is the share velocity index. In the current algorithmic landscape, platforms have drastically reduced the weight of a standard like or a generic comment. They understand that these actions are frictionless and easily manipulated by automated scripts. The ultimate currency of trust in 2026 is the direct share. When a viewer watches a video and actively chooses to send that piece of content to a friend via direct message, an encrypted chat application, or an email, it signals a level of profound resonance that cannot be artificially manufactured at scale. Imagine if you are a business owner named Jessica, running a specialized organic skincare line based in Austin, Texas. You are looking for a micro-influencer to launch your new daily sunscreen formula. You find two different creators in the dermatology space, both sitting at exactly 12,000 followers. Creator A has videos filled with hundreds of comments saying things like "great post," "love this," and "amazing content." Creator B has videos with only 40 comments, but the platform analytics, which you can request directly from the creator during the vetting process, show that their videos are being shared directly to other users hundreds of times per week. Creator A is almost certainly utilizing an engagement pod or bot network. Those generic, universally positive comments are the definitive digital footprint of artificial inflation. Creator B, however, possesses a genuine hyper-engaged audience. Their viewers are watching the content and immediately sending it to their family members and friends who struggle with specific skin conditions. For Jessica, investing her budget in Creator B represents a historically proven pathway to high-converting customer acquisition, while Creator A is a complete financial dead end. The second hidden metric that agencies use to forensically audit a micro-influencer is the linguistic community signature. True digital communities do not speak in broad, generic terms. When a group of highly passionate individuals gathers around a specific hyper-niche topic, they inevitably develop their own localized vocabulary. They create inside jokes, they reference past videos with obscure acronyms, and they engage in highly technical debates that would be completely incomprehensible to an outside observer. When you are vetting a potential micro-influencer partnership, you must aggressively audit the deepest layers of their comment section. You are not looking for praise. You are looking for friction, nuance, and hyper-specificity. If the creator is reviewing a complex piece of software, and the comments are entirely comprised of fire emojis and generic clapping hands, walk away immediately. If the comments feature multi-paragraph debates about specific user interface glitches, feature requests, and granular workflow integrations, you have found a verified, highly lucrative community. Furthermore, you must analyze the creator response depth. A genuine micro-influencer in 2026 does not simply hit the like button on a user comment. They respond with detailed, thoughtful paragraphs. They remember the names of their regular viewers. They treat their comment section like an ongoing multi-year consultation session, rather than a broadcasting channel. The third, and perhaps most definitive vetting mechanism is the off-platform migration test. The greatest risk any creator faces in 2026 is algorithmic dependency. If a micro-influencer relies entirely on a single video platform to communicate with their audience, their business model is inherently fragile. A simple policy update or a minor algorithmic tweak could instantly sever their connection to their community. Therefore, professional agencies look for creators who have successfully migrated a core percentage of their audience to platforms they actually control. Does this creator have a dedicated weekly newsletter with an exceptionally high open rate? Do they host an active, heavily moderated private community server? Do they run a specialized podcast that consistently charts within their specific sub-industry? Let us return to our case study with Jessica in Austin. When she finally selects her ideal skincare micro-influencer, she does not base her decision solely on their video performance. She discovers that this specific creator, a licensed esthetician working in Chicago, also runs a private community forum where 2,000 of her most dedicated followers share detailed daily routines and product spreadsheets. This off-platform migration proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the audience's loyalty is to the creator themselves, not to the dopamine loop of the video platform's algorithm. When Jessica secures a partnership with this creator, she is not just buying a temporary slot on a video feed. She is buying direct, vetted access to a highly concentrated ecosystem of eager, educated consumers. Conducting this level of due diligence is notoriously time-consuming. It requires a manual, deeply analytical approach that completely contradicts the volume-based marketing strategies of the past decade. You have to spend hours watching back catalogs of content, reading hundreds of comments, and requesting highly specific back-end analytics. But the historical trends of the 2026 digital economy dictate that this is the only reliable method for surviving the massive inflation of digital advertising costs. By systematically eliminating the creators who rely on the engagement mirage, you preserve your capital for the rare, authentic communities that actually drive the American economy forward. However, identifying and fully vetting the perfect micro-influencer is merely the diagnostic phase of the operation. Once you have located these highly insulated, deeply authentic communities, you face an entirely new, incredibly complex psychological hurdle. These creators are fiercely protective of their audiences. They have spent years cultivating parasocial trust, and they know that a single inauthentic brand deal can permanently destroy their credibility. If you approach them using the same copy and paste corporate outreach emails that agencies used in 2023, your message will be instantly deleted, and your brand will be permanently blacklisted from their community. They do not care about your generic affiliate link, and they are not impressed by your corporate branding. So, how do you successfully penetrate these heavily guarded digital fortresses? What is the exact psychological framework and negotiation architecture required to convince a highly skeptical, deeply protective micro-influencer to actually align their hard-earned reputation with your specific product or service? The answer lies in mastering what industry insiders in 2026 are calling the anti-pitch. To understand this framework, you must completely discard the power dynamics of traditional advertising. When a massive corporation approaches a billboard company, the corporation holds all the leverage because they hold the capital. When a brand approaches a highly vetted micro-influencer, the exact opposite is true. The creator holds the leverage because they hold the trust. If you send a cold email that reads like a standardized press release, highlighting your company history and demanding strict creative control, you are fundamentally misunderstanding the ecosystem. These creators receive dozens of those exact emails every single week, and they categorically ignore them. They view heavy-handed corporate oversight not as guidance, but as a direct threat to the authenticity they have spent years building. Therefore, the very first step in the negotiation architecture is demonstrating undeniable proof of work before you ever mention a product, a service, or a payout. Imagine if you are an e-commerce entrepreneur named Emily, running a specialized home decor studio based in Charleston, South Carolina. Your flagship products are highly intricate pieces like a classic red rose framed needlepoint artwork and a golden floral framed needlepoint artwork. You have identified a micro-influencer on a major video platform who focuses entirely on traditional crafting revival and grand millennial interior design. This creator has exactly 8,000 subscribers, but her comment section is a goldmine of engaged decorators discussing fabric textures, framing techniques, and color theory. If Emily sends a standard outreach template offering a $50 flat fee in exchange for a dedicated 60-second scripted read, the email goes straight to the trash. The creator knows her audience will instantly recognize a forced, out-of-character script. Instead, Emily utilizes the proof of work protocol. Her initial outreach does not ask for anything. She sends a highly personalized message detailing exactly how a specific technique the creator demonstrated in a video from 3 months ago helped Emily solve a framing issue in her own studio. She references an inside joke from the creator's community regarding the frustration of threading a particular type of metallic needle. She establishes herself as a peer and a consumer of the content first, and a brand representative second. Only after establishing this baseline of mutual respect does Emily introduce her needlepoint artwork. She does not offer a script. She offers a hyper-personalized, zero-pressure proposition. She sends the classic red rose framed needlepoint artwork directly to the creator with a simple note stating that if the piece naturally fits into the aesthetic of their next studio redesign video, she would be honored to be featured, providing a unique tracking link strictly for their community. This approach transitions the relationship from a transactional vendor agreement to a collaborative alliance. The micro-influencer does not feel like a hired spokesperson. They feel like a curated tastemaker discovering a hidden gem for their audience. This brings us to the most critical component of the 2026 negotiation matrix: absolute creative autonomy. Traditional marketing agencies historically demand pre-approval of all scripts, specific lighting requirements, and mandatory talking points. In the micro-influencer ecosystem, these demands are relationship killers. You must understand that the creator knows their audience's psychological triggers infinitely better than your marketing department ever will. When a video suddenly transitions from a raw, conversational vlog to a highly produced, well-lit advertisement segment, the viewer's brain recognizes a pattern shift and immediately disengages. The creator must blend the product into their normal lighting, normal pacing, and normal editing style. If the creator wants to integrate your high-end software product into a comedic skit shot on a grainy smartphone camera because that is the native language of their channel, you must let them. If they want to brutally critique a minor flaw in your product while praising its overall utility, you must let them. In fact, historical trends from the past 2 years indicate that sponsored integrations featuring mild, constructive product criticism perform significantly higher in overall conversion rates because the audience perceives the review as uncompromised and relentlessly honest. Now we must address the financial architecture of these partnerships. The days of paying exorbitant flat rates for fixed-rate dedicated videos are rapidly ending. The most successful brands operating in the United States today are structuring their micro-influencer deals using a hybrid performance matrix. This involves offering a very modest baseline payment to cover the creator's immediate production time, coupled with a highly aggressive, tiered affiliate structure. This perfectly aligns the incentives of both parties. The creator is not just reading an advertisement. They essentially become a commission sales partner with uncapped earning potential based entirely on how effectively they can translate their community trust into tangible action. Consider a specialized tax preparation software company targeting independent freelance designers. They approach 20 different design-focused micro-influencers. Instead of paying each creator a flat $1,000 fee, they offer a $200 production stipend, plus a recurring 30% commission on every subscription generated through their specific community link for the lifetime of that customer. This hybrid model mitigates the upfront financial risk for the software company while offering the micro-influencer a potential outcome of long-term, passive revenue that far exceeds a one-time payment. The creator is highly motivated to not just mention the software once, but to organically weave it into multiple future videos, creating an ongoing campaign without the brand having to renegotiate a new contract every single month. When finalizing the partnership, the documentation must reflect this new reality. Instead of a rigid contract demanding specific deliverables, forward-thinking brands issue an integration brief. This brief strictly limits itself to 3 things: the exact value proposition of the product, the strict legal and platform safety guardrails that must be followed, and the specific call to action. Everything else is left entirely to the creator's discretion. If you are operating in highly regulated industries like personal finance, real estate, or automotive insurance, these guardrails become the most critical part of the brief. You must explicitly mandate that the creator maintains an entirely educational tone, avoiding any language that could be construed as guaranteed financial returns, absolute promises, or legally binding professional advice. The focus must remain entirely on historical trends, objective feature analysis, and case studies to remain compliant with the increasingly strict platform safety policies of 2026. By executing this exact framework, you transition from being a disruptive advertiser to becoming a valuable resource for a highly targeted community. You have successfully bypassed the traditional gatekeepers, thoroughly vetted your creator, established a collaborative alliance, and structured a mutually beneficial financial matrix. The campaign is fully locked in, the product has been shipped, and the creator is officially in production. The video goes live on a Tuesday afternoon, and the initial analytics begin rolling into your dashboard. But this is exactly where the most devastating, catastrophic mistakes are currently being made by brands across the country. What happens when the micro-influencer executes their part of the campaign flawlessly, driving thousands of highly primed, high-intent viewers directly to your website, but your conversion rate remains at absolute zero? What is the hidden technical trap waiting at the very bottom of the sales funnel that is actively destroying perfectly executed micro-influencer campaigns in 2026? And how do you completely rebuild your digital infrastructure to prevent it? The absolute destruction of a perfectly executed micro-influencer campaign occurs the millisecond a highly primed viewer clicks the link in the description box and experiences catastrophic cognitive dissonance. You have spent weeks meticulously vetting a creator, establishing a deeply collaborative partnership, and structuring a performance-based financial agreement. The creator has delivered a masterful, authentic integration that perfectly aligns with their community. The viewer is actively engaged. Their skepticism has been bypassed by parasocial trust, and they are ready to take action. They click the link, transitioning from the warm, familiar environment of their favorite creator's channel to your digital real estate. If that link directs them to a generic, cold, corporate homepage designed by a committee in a sterile boardroom, the trust you just paid for evaporates instantly. The viewer is hit with a wall of irrelevant navigation menus, intrusive pop-up banners asking for their email address before they have even seen the product, and a completely different visual language than the video they were just watching. This is the friction trap. It is a massive psychological disconnect, and in the 2026 digital economy, it guarantees an immediate bounce. To completely rebuild your digital infrastructure and prevent this massive leak in your sales funnel, you must aggressively adopt the architecture of isolated, co-branded microfunnels. In 2026, sending influencer traffic to a standard website homepage is a dereliction of marketing duty. You must construct a dedicated, hidden landing page, often referred to within the industry as a dark page, specifically tailored for that single creator's audience. This page does not exist on your main website navigation. It is accessible exclusively through the specific tracking link provided in the video description. The entire psychological objective of this dark page is to extend the micro-influencer's environment into your conversion ecosystem, making the transition feel entirely seamless and native to the viewer. Consider a practical case study involving the highly complex and tightly regulated financial sector. Imagine an independent, United States-based micro-influencer who runs a highly respected, deeply analytical educational channel focused on personal finance and consumer protection. This creator produces a deeply researched video titled 5 Mistakes to Avoid When Getting Car Insurance Quotes Online. Because the topic is inherently sensitive, the creator strictly follows all platform safety policies, maintaining a purely educational tone, analyzing historical trends in premium calculations, and using objective case studies to highlight potential outcomes of different policy structures without ever giving direct, risky financial advice. A boutique, forward-thinking insurance comparison platform decides to sponsor this specific video. The creator seamlessly integrates the platform, explaining how their tool helps users objectively compare data to avoid the very mistakes outlined in the video. If this insurance platform simply drops a link to their standard corporate homepage, the highly educated, high-intent viewers will arrive, see a generic corporate interface, feel entirely disconnected from the nuanced educational content they just consumed, and immediately leave. The conversion rate will be devastatingly low. However, the successful 2026 methodology dictates a completely different infrastructure. When the viewer clicks the link in that specific car insurance video, they are routed to a co-branded dark page. The very first thing they see at the top of the screen is not the corporate logo, but a high-resolution image of the creator, or a custom welcome video specifically recorded for this page. The headline directly references the video content, perhaps stating, "Welcome to the platform discussed in today's video regarding the 5 critical mistakes to avoid." This hypercontextualization instantly neutralizes the viewer's defense mechanisms. They feel like they are still under the protective umbrella of the creator's recommendation. The digital architecture of this page must be ruthlessly streamlined. You must strip away the standard website header, the footer, the About Us section, and the blog links. You remove every single clickable element that does not directly lead to the desired conversion event. The user interface must reflect the exact aesthetic and tone of the creator's channel, utilizing similar color palettes and typography. The copy on the page should mirror the specific vocabulary and inside terminology used by that specific micro-community. By mirroring the environment, you maintain the psychological momentum generated by the video integration. But optimizing the visual and contextual elements is only half of the infrastructure rebuild. The back-end mechanics of your checkout or lead capture process must be entirely frictionless. The American consumer in 2026 possesses absolutely zero tolerance for multi-step, cumbersome data entry. If your checkout process requires them to manually type their shipping address, input their credit card numbers, and create a mandatory account with a complex password containing a special character, they will abandon the cart, regardless of how much they trust the micro-influencer. Your digital infrastructure must integrate seamlessly with decentralized digital wallets, native device biometric authentications, and accelerated one-click purchase APIs. The entire transaction, from the moment the page loads to the final confirmation screen, should take less than 12 seconds and require no more than 2 physical interactions from the user. Furthermore, you must rebuild your tracking and attribution models to account for the privacy-first web of 2026. Traditional tracking pixels and standard UTM parameters are rapidly losing their efficacy due to aggressive browser-level privacy updates and stringent consumer protection laws. If you rely solely on outdated tracking software, you will severely underreport the actual performance of your micro-influencer campaigns, leading you to prematurely cancel highly profitable partnerships. You must implement server-side tracking protocols and lean heavily into zero-party data collection. This involves integrating highly specific, frictionless post-purchase surveys directly into the confirmation page. You simply ask the consumer in a single click where they heard about you, listing the specific micro-influencer as a prominent option. This direct, user-reported data, combined with sophisticated probabilistic attribution models, provides the only accurate picture of your campaign's true return on investment. By deploying these isolated, co-branded dark pages, eliminating all navigational friction, and utilizing accelerated checkout protocols, you effectively seal the leaks at the bottom of your funnel. You honor the trust the micro-influencer has transferred to you by providing an exceptional, tailored user experience. The traffic flows smoothly from the video through the deeply contextual landing page and straight into the conversion event. The metrics on your dashboard begin to reflect the true power of narrowcasting, with conversion rates soaring into the double digits. You have successfully acquired a new, highly valuable customer through the ultimate vehicle of digital trust. However, generating that initial transaction is merely the baseline of a truly scalable business model. The most devastating mistake a brand can make after successfully converting influencer-driven traffic is treating that highly primed individual as a one-time transactional entity. You have just paid a premium to acquire a customer who already inherently trusts your brand by proxy. If you allow them to make a single purchase and quietly fade away into the digital ether, you are leaving millions of dollars of potential lifetime value on the table. How do the most dominant brands in the 2026 United States economy transition these one-time buyers into fiercely loyal recurring brand advocates? What is the specific, highly engineered post-purchase retention sequence that guarantees these customers never buy from your competitors again? And how do you leverage the micro-influencer one final time to seal that absolute loyalty? The exact moment a consumer completes a transaction is historically viewed by legacy marketing departments as the finish line. In the high-stakes digital economy of 2026, this moment is actually the starting gun. When that highly primed viewer clicks purchase, their brain experiences a massive spike in dopamine, immediately followed by the vulnerability of buyer's remorse. They just spent their hard-earned capital based entirely on the recommendation of a micro-influencer they trust. If your first point of contact post-purchase is an automated, text-heavy, profoundly sterile receipt generated by a generic payment processor, you are actively severing the emotional connection that drove the sale in the first place. You are rudely awakening them from the warm, trusted environment of the creator and dropping them onto the cold, hard floor of corporate reality. To prevent this, the most sophisticated brands in the United States have completely re-engineered their onboarding architecture to execute a seamless, co-branded post-purchase retention sequence. This sequence utilizes a psychological strategy known as trust continuity. The core concept is to keep the micro-influencer visually and contextually present throughout the entire onboarding process, acting as a digital chaperone as the consumer familiarizes themselves with your product. Imagine if you are an entrepreneur named Marcus, operating out of Chicago in 2026, and you have developed a highly specialized, educational tax organization software strictly designed for independent freelance graphic designers. You understand the historical trends showing that freelance tax compliance is a high-friction, anxiety-inducing topic. Therefore, you have partnered with a micro-influencer named Chloe, a highly respected freelance illustrator based in Brooklyn with an audience of 9,000 dedicated peers. Chloe does not give risky financial advice. She strictly provides educational content detailing her own historical workflows and the exact case studies of how she organizes her quarterly estimated payments using your software. When one of Chloe's viewers purchases Marcus's software, the retention sequence initiates immediately. The very first email they receive is not a standard corporate invoice. It is a highly personalized welcome message that appears to be co-authored by both Marcus and Chloe. The subject line reads, "Welcome to the workflow, here is how Chloe gets started." When the user opens the email, the primary element is a brief, embedded video of Chloe herself. She is sitting in her familiar Brooklyn studio, speaking directly to the camera, congratulating them on taking a massive step toward organizing their freelance business. She then provides a highly specific step-by-step walkthrough of the exact first 3 actions they need to take inside the software to replicate her historical success. By positioning the micro-influencer as the primary onboarding guide, Marcus completely neutralizes buyer's remorse. The consumer feels validated in their purchase because their trusted industry peer is actively validating the decision post-checkout. This strategy extends far beyond digital software. If you are shipping a physical product, the unboxing experience in 2026 must be equally co-branded. Case studies from leading direct-to-consumer wellness brands demonstrate the immense power of including a custom physical insert card, featuring a scannable code linked to a private, unlisted video from the specific micro-influencer who drove that exact sale. When the customer scans the code, the creator explains the optimal way to use the product, the common mistakes to avoid during the first week, and the specific historical results they achieved. This transforms a static physical product into a dynamic, interactive continuation of the creator's content. The customer does not feel like they bought a commodity. They feel like they unlocked an exclusive piece of the creator's ecosystem. However, the ultimate potential outcome of the 2026 retention sequence is not just to reduce immediate refund rates. It is to engineer absolute brand loyalty by transitioning the customer from the micro-influencer's audience into your own proprietary community. You cannot rely on the creator to hold your customer's hand indefinitely. The co-branded onboarding sequence must serve as a temporary bridge. Over the course of the first 30 days, the communication gradually shifts the spotlight from the creator to your internal brand advocates and the broader community of successful users. You begin introducing the customer to your dedicated support team, highlighting other users who share similar professional or personal demographics, and inviting them into your brand-owned forums or exclusive digital workspaces. Consider the historical trends of a properly executed feedback loop within this retention phase. Around day 21, When the data suggests the customer has fully integrated the product into their routine, the sequence deploys a highly strategic request. Instead of asking for a generic 5-star review on a public directory, the brand asks the customer to share their specific, detailed case study within the private brand community. They ask for the exact metrics of their success. When the customer shares their story, you immediately reward them with exclusive perks, early access to new features, or elevated status within the community architecture. You are effectively training them to become micro-influencers in their own right, advocating for your brand within their own localized peer networks. This cyclical architecture is precisely why certain obscure, highly specialized brands in the United States are currently experiencing unprecedented, compound growth without spending a single dollar on traditional television advertising or broad social media campaigns. They acquire highly targeted customers through deeply trusted micro-influencers. They utilize those exact same influencers to ensure a flawless onboarding experience, and they meticulously transition those customers into vocal, lifelong brand evangelists. The historical cost of customer acquisition plummets, while the lifetime value of the customer skyrockets. This is the definitive mathematical formula that is quietly rendering the legacy marketing agencies of the previous decade completely obsolete. Yet, as brands aggressively refine these hyper-efficient acquisition funnels, a massive structural shift is simultaneously occurring on the other side of the equation. The micro-influencers themselves are waking up. For the past 3 years, these creators have been vastly underestimating their own market value, happily accepting minor affiliate commissions and free products, while generating millions of dollars in highly verifiable revenue for the brands they promote. But the landscape of 2026 is rapidly changing. These hyper-niche creators are beginning to thoroughly analyze the exact same conversion data that the brands possess. They are realizing that they are not just temporary marketing channels. They are the entire foundational bedrock of the modern digital economy. And as this realization sets in, they are fundamentally restructuring how they operate, how they negotiate, and how they consolidate their power. What exactly happens to the American advertising industry when thousands of highly specialized micro-influencers decide to stop competing against each other and begin forming decentralized, highly organized creator syndicates? How are these new digital cartels completely monopolizing entire sub-industries, dictating pricing terms to massive corporations? And what must you do immediately to ensure your brand is not permanently locked out of the market when they do? The era of the isolated, easily exploitable micro-influencer has officially ended. As we navigate the complex economic realities of 2026, we are witnessing the rapid emergence of decentralized creator syndicates. This is a profound structural evolution where dozens, sometimes hundreds, of highly specialized creators within a specific sub-industry stop viewing each other as direct competitors and start operating as a unified, monopolistic negotiating bloc. For years, massive corporations relied on the fragmentation of the creator economy. They could approach a micro-influencer in Texas, offer a painfully low flat fee, and if that creator refused, the brand would simply move on to a similar creator in Ohio who was desperate enough to accept the terrible terms. The brands controlled the capital, so they dictated the market rate. But historical trends over the last 18 months show a violent reversal of this dynamic. Creators are now aggressively pooling their back-end analytics. They are comparing their conversion rates, sharing their corporate email negotiations, and realizing that combined, they hold the absolute keys to specific consumer demographics. Imagine if you are an executive named David, managing the marketing budget for a massive, publicly traded culinary appliance manufacturer based in Seattle. You are tasked with launching a new, highly specialized espresso machine targeted specifically at home baristas. In the past, you would instruct your marketing agency to blast out 500 automated emails to every coffee-focused micro-influencer across the United States, fully expecting to secure 30 of them for a fraction of their actual worth. But in 2026, David hits an insurmountable brick wall. Unbeknownst to him, the top 80 home barista micro-influencers, creators with subscriber counts ranging strictly from 7,000 to 30,000, have formed a private, encrypted digital syndicate. They communicate daily. When David's agency sends out those lowball offers, they do not get 30 acceptances. They get 80 identical rejections. The syndicate has collectively agreed on a standardized minimum baseline compensation that accurately reflects their historically proven conversion rates. They demand a strict performance matrix, full creative autonomy, and the specific co-branded onboarding architecture we discussed previously. David is now trapped. He cannot bypass them by going to a massive mainstream celebrity, because as we established earlier, the celebrity will not convert the high-intent buyers his company desperately needs to satisfy their quarterly earnings reports. The syndicate has effectively monopolized the entire digital ecosystem of home espresso enthusiasts in the United States. They hold a collective, hyper-engaged audience of over 1 million consumers. If David refuses to meet their unified terms, his direct competitor certainly will, and his flagship product launch will face a catastrophic failure. The syndicate dictates the pricing, the timeline, and the creative deliverables. This is not an isolated incident within the coffee industry. This exact collective bargaining strategy is currently replicating across personal finance, consumer electronics, specialized fitness, and even highly technical software markets. The power has entirely shifted from the corporate boardroom to the decentralized creator collective. Let us look at another case study to understand the depth of this structural shift. Consider an entrepreneur named Sarah building specialized case management software for independent paralegals in the United States. She wants to tap into the legal creator niche. In 2026, these professional micro-influencers do not operate in silos. They utilize shared data dashboards within their syndicate. If Sarah offers one creator a 20% affiliate commission and another creator a 30% commission, the syndicate flags the discrepancy immediately. They demand total market transparency. If Sarah attempts to strong-arm a smaller creator into a restrictive contract, that contract is screenshotted and shared with the entire paralegal network, resulting in an immediate and permanent brand boycott. So what must you do immediately to ensure your brand is not permanently locked out of your own industry by these highly organized syndicates? The solution requires a complete abandonment of the vendor and client mentality and a strict adoption of the venture capitalist mindset. You can no longer treat micro-influencers as outsourced advertising inventory to be rented for a weekend. You must treat them as long-term portfolio investments. The very first step is identifying the emerging leaders within these syndicates before the syndicate fully solidifies its monopoly. You must deploy your marketing teams to actively monitor the digital ecosystem for organic cross-collaborations. When you see 3 or 4 micro-influencers in your specific niche begin guest appearing on each other's podcasts, sharing each other's newsletters, and engaging heavily in each other's comment sections, you are witnessing the embryonic stage of a new syndicate. Step 2 involves executing an aggressive, preemptive value integration. Before they ever approach you as a unified front demanding higher premiums, you must approach them individually with an offer of infrastructural leverage. Savvy brands in 2026 are offering highly vetted micro-influencers early equity in new product lines, permanent seats on their product advisory boards, and direct access to their proprietary manufacturing supply chains. Imagine if David, instead of blasting cold emails, had identified 5 key leaders in the coffee syndicate a full year earlier. Imagine if he flew them to the Seattle headquarters, not to shoot an advertisement, but to physically consult on the engineering of the espresso machine, analyzing water pressure variables and boiler temperatures. By doing this, he inherently weaves their professional DNA into the physical product. The potential outcomes of this deep integration are staggering. When the product finally launches, these micro-influencers do not need to be negotiated with. They are already fiercely protective stakeholders. They organically mobilize the rest of the syndicate on behalf of your brand because your success is now structurally tied to their success. You transition from being an outside corporate entity trying to buy access to becoming the preferred internal infrastructural partner of the entire syndicate. This strategy creates a massive, insurmountable defensive moat around your brand. When your competitors finally realize the power of the syndicate and attempt to buy their way in, they will find that the creators are already fully aligned with you, effectively locking your competitors out of the most lucrative marketing channel in the modern economy. This strategy also protects you from the extreme volatility of platform algorithms. A micro-influencer might spend 4 years building a dedicated audience of 20,000 subscribers, only to have a sudden back-end update severely throttle their organic reach. Isolated creators are entirely at the mercy of massive tech conglomerates. But syndicates have built a decentralized safety net. If one creator's channel is artificially suppressed by the algorithm, the other 79 members of the collective actively route their traffic to that creator through community posts, direct mentions, and coordinated off-platform newsletter blasts. They have built an algorithmic insurance policy based on human solidarity. For brands, this means that partnering with a syndicate member offers an unprecedented level of campaign stability. If you sponsor a video that gets suppressed, the creator's syndicate will artificially support the views by driving external, high-intent traffic to that specific link, ensuring your historical return on investment remains mathematically consistent. You are no longer just buying an audience. You are tapping into a highly sophisticated, self-correcting digital ecosystem. By understanding and respecting the collective power of the micro-influencer syndicate, you secure your brand's future in the 2026 marketplace. But this entire macro-level strategy relies entirely on one very specific micro-level execution. You can have the perfect product, the deepest pockets, and the best intentions to build a long-term advisory board with these creators, but if you fail the initial contact protocol, you will be permanently placed on a syndicate blacklist before the conversation even begins. These syndicates maintain shared, highly detailed databases of toxic brands and terrible outreach emails. So, how exactly do you draft the perfect, highly converting introductory communication? What are the exact psychological triggers, the specific sentence structures, and the hidden formatting rules that will make a skeptical, highly guarded micro-influencer actually open your message, read it to the very end, and actively desire to partner with your brand? The digital inbox of a highly respected micro-influencer in the year 2026 is a heavily fortified, deeply cynical environment. It is constantly bombarded by automated marketing software, lazy public relations pitches, and blatant scams. If you intend to successfully penetrate this environment, you must completely discard the traditional rules of corporate communication. Every single element of your initial outreach must be ruthlessly optimized to instantly bypass their psychological defense mechanisms. The architecture of the perfect contact protocol relies entirely on hyperspecific contextualization, the absolute elimination of corporate aesthetics, and the immediate demonstration of profound peer-level respect. Imagine if you are an entrepreneur named Thomas, operating out of Austin, Texas. You are managing the marketing outreach for a new developer tool designed to dramatically optimize cloud computing costs. You have identified your absolute perfect micro-influencer. Her channel is highly specialized, catering strictly to a United States audience of advanced digital creators and software engineers. She spends her videos developing complex Python programs to automate massive, tedious tasks for YouTube channel operators. In her latest masterclass video, she spent 45 minutes breaking down exactly how she utilizes the YouTube Data API v3 in conjunction with generative models like Gemini 2.5 Pro for advanced video processing, dynamic metadata tagging, and automated thumbnail generation. She even showcased a complex fallback script, utilizing specific Imagen 4.0 models to ensure high-fidelity image output when her primary servers encounter latency issues. Her audience of 12,000 subscribers is intensely dedicated, hanging on to every single line of code she writes. If Thomas approaches this creator with an email subject line that reads partnership opportunity or sponsored content inquiry, his message is dead on arrival. In 2026, highly technical micro-influencers employ aggressive, AI-driven inbox filters that automatically route generic corporate terminology straight into the spam folder. Even if the email miraculously bypasses the automated filters, the creator will manually delete it within a fraction of a second. Their psychological firewall is completely impenetrable to standard marketing jargon. To successfully breach this inbox, Thomas must deploy the hyperspecific context protocol. His subject line must read exactly like a message from a fellow developer or a deeply engaged community member. A subject line that simply states question regarding your Gemini 2.5 Pro fallback script from Tuesday will command an immediate, almost involuntary open. It signals absolute relevance. It proves instantaneously that the sender is not a mass emailing software bot, but a human being who actually consumed the highly technical content and speaks the native language of the community. Once the email is opened, the first sentence must immediately deliver undeniable proof of work. Thomas cannot start by introducing his company, his personal background, or his product. He must aggressively validate the creator's effort. His opening line must reference a highly specific timestamp or a granular detail from the video content. He might write, "I was reviewing your workflow for automated video processing today, and your approach to handling the YouTube Data API quota limits around the 18-minute mark was incredibly elegant. I had completely overlooked using that specific caching method for the metadata tags." This opening thoroughly disarms the creator. It transitions Thomas from a corporate solicitor to an observant, respectful peer. He has paid the necessary toll of attention. Only after this rigorous validation can Thomas introduce his potential collaboration, and he must do so using the anti-pitch framework. He does not attach a PDF media kit. He does not demand a minimum view count. He does not offer a flat $50 compensation fee. Instead, he presents a highly customized, low-friction integration opportunity based on historical trends of what actually provides utilitarian value to her specific United States audience. Thomas might state, "Our team in Austin has been developing a cloud optimization tool that specifically reduces the server latency you mentioned experiencing during your iMagen 4.0 thumbnail generation phase. We are not looking for a traditional scripted advertisement. We would simply love to give you absolute unrestricted backend access to our platform for a month. If it genuinely speeds up your Python automation program, and you feel your audience of channel operators would benefit from the reduced latency, we can discuss a performance-based partnership that accurately reflects the immense value of your community trust." This specific syntax is masterfully engineered. It explicitly guarantees total creative autonomy by stating they are not looking for a traditional advertisement. It offers immediate, free utility to the creator's actual daily workflow without any binding contractual obligations. And most importantly, it establishes a firm foundation of mutual respect regarding compensation by completely avoiding insulting, low-tier flat rates that historically destroy brand relationships. Furthermore, the structural formatting of this email must strictly adhere to the unwritten rules of the 2026 digital syndicate ecosystem. The message must be composed entirely in plain text. You must violently strip away all corporate HTML templates, heavily branded signature blocks, and embedded company logos. These visual elements trigger immediate subconscious alarms, signaling a mass-produced corporate blast. More critically, you must completely remove any invisible tracking pixels or read receipt software from your outreach platform. Technical micro-influencers utilize sophisticated email clients that instantly detect these tracking attempts. If they see that you are secretly monitoring their open rates and click behavior through a hidden pixel, you will not just be ignored. Your entire corporate domain will be permanently blacklisted and shared across their private creator syndicate databases as a hostile entity. The email must look and feel exactly like a plain, simple text message sent from a trusted colleague. Let us examine the historical trends of this exact outreach protocol. Case studies from leading boutique agencies in the United States over the past 24 months demonstrate that standard, heavily branded outreach emails yield an abysmal response rate of roughly 0.4%. Conversely, campaigns utilizing the hyperspecific context protocol, plain text formatting, and the anti-pitch framework are currently generating response rates upwards of 42%. This represents an astronomical leap in efficiency. You are no longer burning through hundreds of potential leads to secure a single mediocre partnership. You are meticulously selecting 10 perfect micro-influencers, investing the required time to deeply analyze their content, and successfully converting 4 of them into highly lucrative, long-term brand advocates. This precise communication architecture must also extend deeply into your follow-up sequence. The 2026 micro-influencer is managing an overwhelming digital operation. If they do not respond to your perfect initial email within 48 hours, it is rarely a conscious rejection. It is almost always simply an issue of bandwidth. However, the traditional corporate follow-up email, which typically reads "just bumping this to the top of your inbox," is universally perceived as aggressive and entitled. Your follow-up must provide additional, unprompted value. For days later, Thomas should reply to his original thread with a single sentence linking to a new resource stating, "I saw YouTube just updated their API documentation regarding video location settings for US audiences. Thought this might impact your current Python build. Still open to chatting about the cloud tool if you ever have the bandwidth." This confirms you are a permanent asset to their operation, not a temporary liability to their time. When you execute this entire communication matrix flawlessly, the inevitable potential outcome is a direct response from the creator expressing genuine interest and requesting a preliminary meeting. You have successfully navigated the most difficult barrier in the modern creator economy. You have bypassed the spam filters, neutralized their deeply ingrained skepticism, and earned a seat at the table. The micro-influencer sends you a calendar link, and you are officially scheduled for a face-to-face digital negotiation. But this is exactly where the dynamic becomes incredibly dangerous. Over 70% of successful outreach campaigns completely fall apart during this exact preliminary video call. Brands assume that because the creator agreed to a meeting, the sale is complete, and they can safely revert back to their standard corporate negotiation tactics. This is a fatal miscalculation. The creator is using this call for one specific purpose: to violently stress test your authenticity and your willingness to relinquish creative control. What is the precise psychological trap that micro-influencers set during these initial video calls? How do legacy marketing directors consistently fall into it? And what exact verbal framework must you use to successfully secure the partnership and advance to the final scripting phase of the campaign? The psychological trap deployed by micro-influencers during these initial video calls is known within the 2026 digital economy as the deliberate sabotage test. You must understand that these creators have spent years cultivating an audience that possesses a razor-sharp radar for corporate inauthenticity. When they finally agree to a face-to-face digital meeting with a brand representative, they are actively searching for any red flag that indicates you intend to treat them like a traditional, heavily sanitized television commercial. To expose your true intentions, the creator will intentionally pitch an integration concept that mildly violates standard corporate brand safety guidelines. They will casually suggest pointing out a minor flaw in your software user interface, or they will propose demonstrating your product in a chaotic, unpolished environment rather than a perfectly lit studio. They are not actually planning to sabotage your brand. They are meticulously testing your reflex to exert control. They want to see if you will panic and attempt to force them back into a rigid, pre-approved corporate box. This is exactly where legacy marketing directors experience catastrophic failure. Imagine a seasoned marketing executive named Robert, operating out of a major corporate headquarters in New York. Robert has spent the last decade buying traditional media placements where he controlled every single syllable of the advertisement. When he gets on a call with a highly sought-after micro-influencer, and hears the creator suggest mocking a minor feature of his product for comedic effect, Robert immediately falls back on his outdated training. His heart rate spikes, he interrupts the creator, and he rigidly cites the company brand guidelines. He nervously explains that legal requires full pre-approval of the script, that the lighting must be perfect, and that the product must only be spoken about in universally glowing terms. In that exact millisecond, the partnership is entirely dead. The creator politely smiles, finishes the call, and permanently blacklists Robert's entire corporation. Historical trends from the past 18 months clearly demonstrate that brands demanding strict creative oversight during initial alignment calls suffer a 95% rejection rate from top-tier micro-influencers. The creator simply has no financial incentive to risk their community trust for a brand that does not respect their localized expertise. To successfully navigate this treacherous phase, you must execute a specific verbal framework known as the autonomous yield. When the creator presents their deliberately chaotic or mildly critical integration concept, you must forcefully and enthusiastically validate their instinct. You must completely suppress your corporate anxiety and verbally confirm that you are investing in their unique ability to translate your product to their community, not renting a human teleprompter. The exact phrase you must deploy is, "We defer entirely to your creative intuition," because our marketing department will never understand your audience's psychological triggers as deeply as you do. By actively relinquishing control, you instantly shatter their preconceived notions of corporate interference. You transition from being a demanding vendor to becoming a collaborative, highly supportive patron of their specific digital art form. Let us examine a highly specific case study to illustrate the immense power of the autonomous yield framework. Imagine an independent entrepreneur named Amanda, operating a specialized home decor studio in Charleston, South Carolina. Amanda has developed a highly lucrative line of specialized products, specifically featuring items like a classic red rose framed needlepoint artwork and a golden floral framed needlepoint artwork. She has targeted her outreach to a specific micro-influencer who operates a rapidly growing grand millennial interior design channel. This creator has an intensely dedicated United States audience of 8,000 viewers who meticulously analyze vintage textures, color theory, and historical framing techniques. During their initial video consultation, the creator decides to deploy the deliberate sabotage test. She tells Amanda that she absolutely loves the golden floral framed needlepoint artwork and wants to feature it as the centerpiece of her next living room redesign video. However, the creator explicitly states that she plans to tell her audience that the standard mounting hardware included on the back of the frame is slightly inadequate for high-traffic hallways, and she wants to film a segment showing her viewers exactly how to remove Amanda's hardware and replace it with custom, heavy-duty brass wall anchors. A legacy marketing director would instantly panic at the thought of a creator publicly stating their hardware is inadequate and would attempt to kill the integration or force the creator to lie. Amanda, however, understands the 2026 digital landscape. She immediately utilizes the autonomous yield framework. She smiles and tells the creator that she completely agrees, noting that the standard hardware was a necessary manufacturing compromise to keep the shipping weight optimized. Amanda enthusiastically encourages the creator to film the hardware replacement segment, explicitly stating that this level of radical transparency and utilitarian advice is exactly why her audience will ultimately trust the recommendation to purchase the artwork itself. By yielding to the creator's critique, Amanda flawlessly passes the psychological test. The micro-influencer instantly realizes that Amanda is a true partner who prioritizes community value over superficial brand perfection. The potential outcomes of this interaction are entirely predictable based on current historical trends. When the video eventually goes live, the audience watches the creator critique the mounting hardware, and their collective skepticism immediately vanishes. They recognize the review is entirely uncompromised and honest. Therefore, when the creator spends the next 3 minutes praising the intricate, high-quality stitching of the golden floral framed needlepoint artwork, the audience accepts the praise as absolute, verified truth. The conversion rate from that specific video integration will historically outperform a highly polished, heavily scripted corporate advertisement by a factor of 10, simply because Amanda allowed the creator to introduce a minor element of authentic friction. Once you have successfully passed the test and verbally secured the partnership, you must smoothly transition the relationship into the final scripting and execution phase. However, in the micro-influencer ecosystem, the term scripting is entirely a misnomer. You do not hand the creator a written document to read. Instead, you provide them with what the industry calls an invisible brief. This highly optimized document contains only 3 specific elements. First, it outlines the strict platform safety guardrails, explicitly reminding the creator to maintain an educational tone and avoid any language that could be construed as risky financial, legal, or health advice, ensuring total compliance with platform policies. Second, it highlights the core value proposition of the product, broken down into raw data points rather than marketing slogans. And third, it provides the precise tracking links and co-branded onboarding assets we discussed earlier. You hand them this skeletal framework and you step back completely, allowing them to construct the narrative architecture around your product. You have successfully bypassed the spam filters, navigated the psychological traps of the initial consultation, secured the partnership without surrendering your budget to a massive syndicate premium, and empowered the creator with the exact tools they need to execute a highly converting campaign. The creator takes your invisible brief, films the content natively within their own studio, and uploads the final video to their channel. For the first 24 hours, the metrics behave exactly as predicted. The highly engaged micro-community floods your co-branded landing page, and your conversion dashboard lights up with unprecedented, highly profitable sales data. The strategy is working flawlessly. But then, precisely 48 hours post-launch, a massive unannounced algorithmic shift occurs across the platform. The algorithm entirely changes how it weighs external links, and the organic reach of the creator's video is suddenly throttled by 80%. Your massive influx of targeted traffic slows to an absolute crawl. How do the most resilient brands in the 2026 digital economy anticipate these catastrophic algorithmic fluctuations? And what specific off-platform decentralized traffic networks must you immediately activate to completely future-proof your micro-influencer campaigns and guarantee a massive return on investment regardless of what the major tech platforms decide to do? To completely future-proof your micro-influencer campaigns against the devastating reality of the 2026 algorithmic guillotine, you must fundamentally shift your entire marketing infrastructure away from rented digital real estate and strictly toward owned digital assets. For the past decade, brands and creators alike have operated under a dangerous collective illusion. They believed that because they had access to a massive audience on a major tech platform, they somehow owned that relationship and could depend on it for long-term revenue. But historical trends have violently proven otherwise. You do not own your followers, and the hyper-niche creator you just partnered with does not own their followers either. You both merely rent access to them at the absolute mercy of a constantly fluctuating, highly unpredictable black box algorithm. When that algorithm inevitably decides to prioritize a different content format, or when the platform abruptly changes its external linking policies to prevent users from leaving their application, your massive influx of highly targeted traffic can be instantly reduced to zero without any prior warning or recourse. The most resilient and profitable brands operating in the United States today anticipate this exact, unavoidable scenario. They do not view a sudden drop in organic reach as a failure of the marketing campaign. They view it as a guaranteed inevitability of the modern digital ecosystem. To combat this inherent instability, they immediately activate off-platform, decentralized traffic networks the exact millisecond the campaign goes live. In this advanced framework, the primary objective of the video integration is no longer to drive a direct, immediate financial transaction. The objective is to execute a massive, rapid audience migration strategy. You must utilize that critical 48-hour window of peak organic reach to physically move the viewer from the rented digital land of the video platform onto the owned digital land of your proprietary business ecosystem. This complex migration is achieved through the aggressive implementation of lead capture architectures embedded directly within the co-branded dark pages we analyzed previously. You are not asking the viewer to purchase a high-ticket item on their very first interaction with your brand. You are asking them for their direct contact information in exchange for an asymmetrical amount of immediate, highly specialized educational value. This means funneling that highly primed micro-influencer traffic into your own localized, specialized email newsletters, direct SMS marketing communication architectures, and highly gated private community servers. An email inbox or a direct text message thread is not governed by a billionaire tech CEO or a changing algorithm. It is a direct, chronological, unfiltered line of communication that your business completely controls. Let us look at a highly specific case study to thoroughly understand the granular mechanics of this decentralized strategy. Imagine if you are a marketing director named Jonathan, operating out of a corporate headquarters in Chicago. You are running campaigns for a specialized software company that helps independent commercial logistics contractors optimize their routing schedules to save on overhead expenses. Jonathan partners with a highly respected micro-influencer in the specialized trucking and independent logistics space. If Jonathan simply pays the creator to tell the audience to click a link and buy a yearly software subscription, he is relying entirely on the viewer making a massive impulse purchase. If the video gets algorithmically throttled on day 3, the campaign flow is dead, and Jonathan loses his entire marketing investment. Instead, Jonathan structures the campaign strictly around an own traffic capture protocol. The micro-influencer tells their highly dedicated audience about a free, incredibly detailed industry threat report Jonathan's company has published, detailing the exact historical trends of fuel cost fluctuations and routing inefficiencies specifically impacting independent contractors in 2026. The creator explains, using objective case studies, that this report alone could potentially save an independent contractor thousands of dollars a quarter by highlighting specific blind spots. The tracking link in the video description does not go to a high-pressure sales page. It goes to a frictionless, co-branded dark page where the viewer simply inputs their email address to instantly receive the PDF report. The video launches, and the creator's profound community trust drives massive initial traffic. Because the barrier to entry is just an email address rather than a credit card, the conversion rate is astronomical. In the first 48 hours before the algorithm inevitably changes, Jonathan captures 6,000 highly targeted, verified email addresses from active, working logistics contractors. On day 3, the platform suddenly updates its link-sharing policy. The organic reach of the video drops by 90%, and the daily clicks vanish entirely. A legacy marketer would panic, declare the entire campaign a catastrophic failure, and scramble to find another creator to buy more temporary attention. Jonathan does not panic. The video has already successfully completed its primary function. It acted as the necessary digital bridge to transport those 6,000 high-intent consumers off the rented platform and directly into Jonathan's own database. Now, Jonathan activates his decentralized traffic network. He begins feeding those 6,000 individuals a highly sophisticated, multi-week educational email sequence. He provides them with further case studies of other regional contractors who have utilized his specific routing software to successfully mitigate the fuel costs discussed in the initial report. Because Jonathan owns this communication channel outright, he is completely insulated from any external algorithmic suppression or platform policy changes. He can directly measure the open rates, the click-through rates, and the granular conversion data without relying on third-party tracking pixels that are largely obsolete and restricted by privacy laws in 2026. The historical trends of this exact methodology show that the potential outcomes of a long-term, educational email nurturing sequence will consistently outperform the initial 48-hour impulse buying window by thousands of percentages. Jonathan eventually converts a massive portion of those 6,000 leads into paying long-term software subscribers over the next 6 months, guaranteeing a massive return on investment regardless of what the major tech platforms decide to do on any given day. To successfully execute this transition within your own business, you must completely restructure how you negotiate your micro-influencer contracts. You can no longer compensate creators based solely on superficial vanity metrics like total video views or gross impressions. You must transition your entire affiliate structure to a strict cost per acquisition model, where the baseline acquisition is defined strictly as a verified email or a phone number captured on your localized dark page. You must explicitly incentivize the creator to drive their audience into your decentralized network. You offer them a significantly higher back-end commission for every single user who joins your email list or registers for your private brand community. This completely aligns your corporate financial goals with the creator's localized influence. The creator will naturally and authentically emphasize the extreme value of your free lead magnet because their financial potential outcome is directly tied to the exact volume of verified data they help you acquire. This represents the absolute pinnacle of the 2026 micro-influencer marketing strategy. You are no longer playing the exhausting, financially draining, and ultimately unwinnable game of chasing viral algorithms. You are systematically utilizing the deepest pockets of trusted human connection on the internet to build your own, completely sovereign digital empire. You identify the authentic voices in your specific industry, you establish true peer-level collaborative alliances, you yield creative control to the experts of that subculture, you seamlessly transition their audience through frictionless digital infrastructure, and you permanently capture their attention within decentralized networks that you completely own and control. The days of shouting into the massive, untargeted void of the internet are officially over. The future of the American economy belongs exclusively to the brands that understand the profound economic power of narrow, deep, and fully owned digital communities. But this entire comprehensive masterclass raises a highly critical, terrifying new question that every successful brand must eventually face. What exactly happens when you have executed this strategy flawlessly, and you suddenly find yourself in direct possession of a private database containing 30,000 hyper-engaged, highly demanding consumers? How do you scale your internal customer service architecture to manage a decentralized community of this massive magnitude without destroying the intimate, personalized trust that the micro-influencer initially transferred to you? What are the specific, highly advanced artificial intelligence protocols that the top 1% of brands are deploying right now to maintain hyper-personalization at a massive scale? And how do you implement them before your community collapses under its own weight?